So let me piggyback off that a little bit, just about what we're aiming for, because I know in my own work and with my inner children, it's often involved a lot of like developing my functional adult, but also a
Oh.
lot of visualization and just sort of sitting and meditating, being present with those inner children. And I like the way you described it, is that our adult is in charge, and that when those inner children come in, we're more aware of them and able to step into it. I know in my own recovery, the way that I've experienced that is that when I've gone inside and gone looking for my inner children, that oftentimes they were sort of disappeared, or they were off, at my visualization, they were off in a cave and all just covered with dirt. And I would bring them out to the courtyard and clean them up and play with them and take care of them. And as I continued to do that, literally over months and years, when I would go in to check in with them, they were hanging out there, and it was like I was already there. It was my functional adult hanging out with them. So we had developed a relationship so that they didn't have to go off the reservation, that when something came up, my functional adult was already there taking care of them and managing the show. And I know how powerful that was for me in my own healing journey. And as that evolution took place, how it showed up differently in my own behaviors, interactions, and ability to sort of be resilient. Um, I'm curious, in your own recovery, how has this shown up for you in your own personal work? And what are some of the nuances that might show up for you as a woman that would be different from what I, as a man who has gone through my own inner child work, how might those nuances show up differently for you?
hmm so I am in recovery from love addiction. And I also really enjoy the visualization and the meditation piece. So for me personally, my little Heather is a conglomerate of mostly the stressed child, the unnoticed child, and the need for control. So I would say the probably leading one is that unnoticed child.
Mhm.
So historically, I've used attention, flirtation, emotional affairs as a way to be noticed. Now, when I notice that I am starting to have those feelings that I don't belong or, haven't been included in something like that, like my mind already knows that that is a trigger for me, right? Because I've done the work to be able to identify what those triggers are. So then I can go inside and talk with little Heather, make sure that she understands that she is loved, she's cared for, that I am there for her, right? Like, I think that relationship piece is the most important. And I know for some people that's really hard to be like, I belong with myself. But really, when you get in there and you start to create these relationships with these parts, it becomes apparent that it is a different part of you and they can learn how to interact, right? It's really abstract. It's kind of like, at least for me, it was kind of uncomfortable at first. But that relationship piece is so beautiful. So for me now, it might look like a really quick check-in and like, I got you, right? Whereas before it was, I would get my meditation music on, I would walk myself through the visualization. So I feel like my experience really aligns with yours, Tim, that it becomes more natural and they're already together. Like it's not this big process of like having to say all these words and do all these actions and lots of hugs. It's really pared down. So I think that there's a lot of overlap when it comes with to men and women, right? When they're using this model. Um, I will say that sometimes that relationship piece with those parts sometimes comes more easily with women just because we tend to be more relational. That's been my experience working with men and with women, but there's a lot of overlap too.